For many years, I spent a lot of time reading books and really trying to learn as much as I could from as many different perspectives as possible. And I feel like I did this mainly because I was working on my own identity and understanding who I am and my place in the world, and feeling the intense sense of there's so much that I don't know, and there's so much that these other people know, and therefore if I study these other people, then I will, have learned something beyond what my own life experience could have ever shown me. And I feel that that is the magic of reading or sharing stories in general. And I recognize that that's a lot of wisdom is gleaned from other people, and at the same time we have to have our own experience to back that up. And in coming to this place of I want to learn as many things as possible because I want to learn who I am, I don't feel like that actually works. I feel like you can figure out who you are not, and you can definitely figure out what you resonate with. But in general, I feel like life experience is the only way to really figure out who you are, and that there is a benefit to reading books, and there's a benefit to talking and learning from other people, peers, mentors, whatever, positive influences that you have in your life. And at the same time, it all of that external stuff will be magnified like 1,000-fold when you really take it into your heart and apply it, use it, and it's not just a theory. So this big idea that came to me was the concept of individuation. And as I'm sparkling in the sunlight here, the concept of individuation first came to me through Carl Jung, who is a famous depth psychologist, was at one point a student of Sigmund Freud, who's the father of psychology in many ways. Carl Jung kind of took a little bit different stance than Freud in terms of the general approach to the psyche. Jung was more focused on let's say what they had in common was this kind of simple concept of the id, the ego, and the superego. And this simple psychological mechanism of the lizard brain, the caveman, and then the evolved wizard. So in the middle between the lizard and the wizard is us often. And in the sense of where we are, where we're going as a species, is that our evolution has taken many steps to get us where we are, because at some point we did just have the lizard brain, and we've had to develop this conscious brain, but now we've kind of got this extra super conscious, very evolved hive mind. That is the reason why we have survived as humans, is because of our social nature. So I would say a lot of our connection to even a higher power often is, it feels like it's mediated as a social evolution, and that this could be described as unity consciousness, that when we have the awareness that we are completely interconnected, that is actually kind of a social experience, and it's also a deeply internally rooted one. Anyways, so Carl Jung, Sigmund Freud both had this same sort of idea of the id, ego, superego, or the unconscious, conscious, and superconscious, which actually relate in the brain to the medulla, or the base of the brain stem, where the spine and brain meet to connect the central nervous system of the lower half, or the lower everything below your neck to your brain. And then the conscious brain, which or the conscious mind, I guess, is all over the place. But then the super conscious mind, which maybe more of the prefrontal cortex or the pineal gland and things like that. So not that we have to rationalize or reduce these any of our experience to either psychological or biological concepts, but it's just helpful to see that human evolution has both a psychological and a biological basis, and it has been elucidated by these very kind and visionary humans over the years. So anyways, so Carl Jung for me has played the role of the wise Merlin elder who brought a lot of the things that I've learned about the esoteric and yoga and that sort of philosophy into a grounded medical practice and psychological worldview that brings in not just, say, neurobiology, but also the more fascinating elements of human history, like mythology, and how we bridge the gap between psychology and mythology, because when we understand that we're living in our own mythology of the modern world, and at the same time we have a lot of mythologies to draw on from all the cultures before us, we can understand that mythology is a lens for the psychological narratives that we're telling ourselves, either individually or collectively, and that being able to change those narratives or write new ones is largely up to the individual to change his or her relationship to the collective and decide that there's a different story that needs to be told than whatever the status quo is. And now that's happening more than ever, and we're all empowered more than ever to be able to do that. And that's a beautiful thing that we can all be grateful for, at least, is regardless of censorship, is having some semblance of the freedom of speech as a very simple one, and the freedom to connect and be able to bridge ideas that are often contradictory, or at the very least understanding that they're, if we have our Venn diagram of the two overlapping circles, understanding oftentimes that when we have two different perspectives, there's a much greater chance of finding truth, because you'll be able to see through both people will see through the other side's ignorance, and then be able to merge at a common place in the middle, where it's like, obviously in politics, the simplest thing is how do we all get along, or something like that. In the world at large, there's any number of stressors and threats and things like that people face, and that are actively happening, just in terms of the climate, in terms of the economy, and in terms of just humans in general, just our ability to get along. And so as we move into this space of what can I do, who am I, why am I here, and what is my role in this entire thing, it doesn't have to be about saving the world. It doesn't have to be this grand mission that you feel maybe is something that depending on what your selective pressures are to adapt to your environment, maybe you'll just feel like I just want to keep moving in the same way so that the boat doesn't rock too much, and that sometimes can be a great thing. Sometimes it can be another good thing to just stop something, to just be like, okay, this thing that is a part of my life does not need to be this habit, or this location, or this whatever. Sometimes stopping something is a great way to make the change. Another way is to just shift your perception through different sorts of activities that can change your brain state. So anything like meditating, journaling, drawing, playing a musical instrument, talking to people who you don't normally talk to, just getting outside and enjoying nature and some exercise. All of these things can kind of make a really big difference in shifting our perspective and give us a slightly different sense of who we are and our place in the world. And obviously, you know, that one of the biggest ones is our relationships and our roles in our working life. So as we develop different capacities, different abilities, we don't have to be, and we really we don't need to ever be defined by our one role. If we have been in this one role of whether I'm a student or whether I'm a banker or whether I'm a parent or whatever it is, like to be allowing ourselves to be defined by something greater than what our main hats that we wear in life. And I'll say this often, and at the same time, it's important to like really stand strong to what your purposes or what your duties are, and how to perform them, obviously to the best of your ability, and at the same time recognizing that you're an evolving person, and then that may change over time. So to not let your identity get too caught up in that, and that sort of idea is threatening in many ways, because we do like to have as much security as we can about our ego, our identity, and how individuation, or this process of self-realization, kind of comes in, is to recognize and being essentially just being secure in the self, being secure in your soul of who you are, and knowing who you are, and knowing that wherever you go, wherever you walk, you're bringing yourself with you, and therefore that's the highest teaching, or the highest purpose that you can give to the world, is just being alive in yourself, and knowing that the fullness of yourself is, in whatever situation you find yourself in, going to bring more to the table than was already there. And that essentially, like, how we find ourselves is just by showing up, and we often can be surprised at how that happens, and pleasantly surprised in terms of just, oh my gosh, I did not know that I was capable of doing that. And that is one of the best feelings that any of us can have, is to just step outside of our comfort zone. Or as Terence McKenna would say, you have the fear of the abyss until you dive in and realize it's a featherbed, something along those lines. So yeah, just in this process of recognizing our true identity, true purpose, true individuality, is a real beautiful source of human evolution from whatever standpoint you want to take. So thank you for watching. Peace. I will see you next time.